This is a really important subject that we don't talk too much about, but I want to address it today, and that is the cost of spirituality. The cost of coming out into what you know is true, expanding your mind, and how that fits in with your personal world and the world in general. I'm going to talk about that because we're all going to experience that, and there's some things you need to know that are pretty darn important. So let's go. Welcome to Landria Onkka, your Zen Powerhouse. Zen? But I'm going to say it like it is, according to me, and give you a spiritual butt kick. We're going to talk today about that. We're going to get real, and that is spirituality does come with a cost. People will tell me that they're losing relationships, but I want to just remind you of something. What relationships are you losing at the cost of really being yourself in what you know is true for you, and it doesn't have to be true for other people? So if somebody actually has a problem with you talking about things like spirituality, the Great Awakening, a new earth, all these things that we usually don't discuss, well, are you really a good match with that person? And that's where the split is going to start to happen. Now, I want you to remember something. As a spiritual person, somebody who is either already in a high awakened state or on your way to awakening, if you're on here, you're on your way to awakening. What does that mean? You become more and more aware of the expansiveness of who and what you are. And the more you go into that space, the more you're open to some pretty cray-cray stuff, right? I talk a lot about that. And if you look at my channel 5 years ago, I would never even touch those subjects. I know for a fact that people like Joe Dispenza, who's amazing, doesn't go into that space purposefully. Does he believe it? Yes. Does he talk about it? No. Why? We lose credibility. If you think it's tough for you out there in that world to bring it up to a friend or bring it up to your family about what you're thinking or what you're believing, that there's aliens and all these other things, and I'm not talking about the conspiracy stuff, I'm talking about just being open to the fact that there's so much more that we don't know, and quantum physics has proven this. If you think it's tough for you, try sitting in this seat, because all somebody has to do is Google me and they're going to know everything. You know, this is not an easy job, and I don't mean just mine, I'm talking about yours. You're going to have to make a decision, and a lot of them, and it has to do with every area of your life. It's going to start with your relationships, really what you personally do in your life and for a living. We cannot cut corners, and it's time now to make some big decisions, because that new earth awaits us, but it's not one that's toxic or nasty or divides us on any level. It's one of unity and understanding, and most of all, compassion. So when you come against these people, you're going to experience this, and I think this is a good conversation for us to have. When you come into contact with people that want to argue with you about some of the things you feel, as an awakened person, I want you to remember that you have no reason to defend anything, because their beliefs are valuable and they are true because they believe them. That's how their world operates. So for you to tell them it's not is the ego trying to correct somebody and make them wrong, right? We can all be right and have our own opinions, and that's a positive thing. But when you get personally offended by that, well, then you're going to the ego state and you're feeling like somebody should think a certain way, and that's not awakening. So you place yourself in the same position as them. So my question to you is, are you feeling divided about certain things? Are you feeling maybe that there are certain things you can't talk about? Well, then don't. The thing is, we are on a dense planet, and most people just can't handle some of the things that I cover and other people. Joe Dispenza, absolutely, when I was in one of his advanced retreats, people get healed in those rooms. They're actually doing it themselves. They're connecting to what I call the miracle space. And it's been reported that people saw, individually, didn't talk to each other, tall beings in the room. Now, I was at one of those retreats where people saw tall beings, and this was presented to him and he acknowledged it. Now, he never really talked about it again, and he actually wouldn't go into the subject, and I know why. Because you will be discredited if you expose yourself too much to things that you don't need to discuss with people who are just ready to pounce on that. So I want to give you a little bit of, cautionary advice, and that is we don't need to wear our beliefs on our sleeve for everybody, because that is saying, here I am and this is what I believe and it's right and you should feel this too. So there's a respect and a compassion that we can all go into out there that makes things work. So there'll be relationships that are going to work because you don't go into that space and you don't need to. And if somebody asks me, I absolutely will share my information or my thoughts about how things work in the universe. It doesn't make me right, it just makes me right for me. So when you're dealing with people out there, my advice to you is to absolutely consider the relationship that you have. If you value it and you accept it the way it is, I've had friends in the past that I could never talk to them about these things, but I didn't need to, because the relationship I had with them was wonderful and I loved it for what it was. Did they go into some spaces that were really dense? Of course. And as humans, we will too. We will have, little triggers that are going to get the thoughts are going, but it's how you react to it that's going to count. So if you're acting in ego and you have to tell somebody off, or, it's about me and my feelings, and, then you're going into a space of ego and you've lost it. So it's okay to listen to somebody and not have to tell them how amazing this world is and how powerful they are. But if you get a discussion and there's an opportunity to open up and they desire that, by all means. But I suggest you take baby steps. Only a small percentage of this planet is open to talking about things. And the funny part is, even people on my channel who are pretty expansive, every once in a while I'll hit a subject that they go, oh, that's crazy. And I'm thinking, wait, this is okay over here, but this is crazy. So we all have our own individual limits. The truth is there aren't any. There are no limits. And everything exists right now for you. And so the more expansive you become, which is, I named this the year of expansion. If you're on my other channel watching that, I named the year. Next year is the year of action. And that is when we go into expansive space, we access amazing things, powers, probabilities. And when we go into the high frequency, the miracle frequency I call it, we are manifesting on a high level. In other words, service to others, really putting the world and nature and other people first. Why? Because they are us. We're all one energy, and that which you give and offer to others immediately is an effect for and on you. And so you should always consider the repercussions of anything that you do, including what you talk about. So, let's just put it this way. If you're single and you're dating, it's a real struggle. It doesn't have to be, but it could be a real struggle for you to be able to be with somebody who can talk about it. Now, I know some of you are in marriages, and I hear this a lot. My spouse, I'm going to divorce him because my spouse doesn't think the way I do. And I'm thinking, wait a second. Just because you can't talk to them about that, or they tell you you're crazy. Do you love that person? You've gotten along. Why would you ruin that relationship? Believe me, there are a lot of people out there that you can reach out to now, thank goodness, that are willing to discuss these things. So get in those groups, find that friend that you can talk to, and you know what? You don't have to talk to your spouse about it. Love that relationship for what it is, and that's awakening also, is acceptance of the relationship that you have with the other person. All right. And so are they going to, rag on you about certain things? Yeah. So why would you go into this space? Because they're uncomfortable with that conversation, whatever it is you're having with them. You don't understand me, or why do you meditate? Because I want to. And so you find the time and you say, listen, you watch your game. I will find, I'm assuming man and woman at this, in this conversation right now, this example, I should say. You watch your game and I'm going to go meditate. I'm going to go in the garden meditate. And so he's going to say, yay, this is great. So, and same thing with you, gentlemen out there, whether you're dating another man or a woman or whatever, if your spouse your partner isn't in alignment with it, you'll find a way if you love them. And that's the real test, isn't it? So spirituality is about how we deal with one another. 100%. It's how we deal with one another. It's how we deal with, my hair is drying. It's a little crazy right now. How we deal with our planet, how we deal with nature. It's all about the relationships. It's not about right or wrong. Everybody's right. So it's how you're handling this. And there are times you're going to have to walk away. There are times when people just cannot handle that you think about, aliens, or that you believe that there is a new earth that we can all live in, that you believe that animals shouldn't be tested on, and all these other things that they may just be uncomfortable. A lot of it is they like the world they were living in, and they're very comfortable there. They have no reason to change it, because as soon as they go into that space and it shakes them up, you can never go back. And that can be a long road for them, and when it shakes up everything they've ever believed, Columbus didn't discover America. It's like, wait a minute, what world do I really live in? And some people are not willing to shift. Family, I hear you guys arguing with your family, we don't talk to each other. Now, is that really spiritual? No, love them. And if they're being jackasses, take a break from them. Love them from afar. Have those brief conversations that you can with them. Get together briefly with them. And the rest, let it go. Because that's your test. So if they're going to be a certain way, if you don't have acceptance of them, then you are not passing your own spiritual evolution test. And that is, can I love them because I chose them and they are testing me and I don't need their approval? You don't need anybody's approval. Do you feel good about yourself? If you are worried about it, maybe you don't approve of yourself or love yourself. And so you need to work on that and say, you know what? I think that I'm okay. And so I don't need somebody else's approval, because a spiritual person would not reject another for their beliefs or who and what they are. So if you're doing that, what's the difference? So let's talk about spirituality and relationships. Yes, we have to draw some lines. There's no real lines, but put some space between us and certain people. Sometimes you're going to go through phases. Well, we all go through phases where some people are just going to go out of your life. It just doesn't work anymore. And maybe what you are focused on with them is not where you want to focus anymore. So you can love them and bless them, but you don't have to hang out with them. Find new, amazing friends. There are always wonderful people out there that are going to assist you in your own growth, and let everything go. Don't judge it. It's like, have you ever, people get divorced, there's always got to be a bad guy. Why does there have to be a bad guy? Right? They both went in it together. So if they split up, there was something obviously spiritually that was going to happen in that relationship that hopefully they both learned from, not to be judged. So we have to be careful about how we're looking at all of this and our relationship with other people, because our spirituality is going to come into play with all of that. So get ready for it, all right? And, again, don't compromise your own beliefs if you are in let's just say, in alignment with love and acceptance and compassion. And, if you are talking about, I'm not going to give up my belief that I shouldn't, do this or wear the whatever, that's the ego. And that's not spirituality at all. That's not what this discussion's about. Then you're over on this other side arguing with everybody. Awakening doesn't argue. There's nothing to argue about. It observes, and, it takes some real thought to address some of these situations, especially if somebody confronts you in a certain way. 9 times out of 10, probably 99 out of 100 times, it's what's inside of them. So if you feel that they've said something that's just not true about who and what you are, they're probably feeling internal conflict themselves. And so they're spewing that out. They want something from you, or they're, not feeling good about themselves, or they're angry or whatever. So go into compassion and say, okay, why would they say that? Because I know that I'm not doing certain things, or that I am a good person and I do my best or whatever. And so you just look at it and say, they're coming from a place of anger. What's their background and what's going on in their lives? And so you're not there to fix them or go in and say, oh, you must be hurting. No, just let it go and have this acceptance here and let them know that, you're not going to get engaged in conflict. All right? Don't get engaged in conflict. Don't let it bring you down. That's a big test. So there are going to be some costs that come with spirituality, and you have to ask yourself if you're willing to do that or not, and if it's maybe the best thing at times. And don't compromise how you believe, but we don't have to, present it to the world because we're up on our soapbox. So be careful with that. It's an amazing time, and there's so many openings to talk about what you really believe and think, and it's a wonderful, beautiful thing. And absolutely, these discussions should be open again. And again, like I said, if you think you've got it tough, sit in this chair and and know that anybody that looks at these videos that's not in alignment is going to have a few things to say, and I'm okay with that. Because there's other people, other channels, other places to go. But you're here, so I know that you're in alignment with this, and you're going to do amazing things. So come on over to Manifest Anything, my free video series. I'm changing it up right now. I'm going to actually have 15 steps of the 3-step process of how to go from empowering yourself, breaking through your fears, and then going into your magical space of manifesting in the Miracle Circle. Miracle Circle is available for you. It's a membership. You can go down and check that out also. But if you join Manifest Anything, you haven't done that yet, you'll get a free mobile app. I think you're going to love it. It's called What Am I Manifesting? It just reminds you that those thoughts are things. And so if you have a negative thought and you are judging somebody else, or you're going on the defensive, what are you manifesting, right? It's all about that. So watch it. Stay in the now. The power of now, as Eckhart Tolle says. And just do your best. That's all you can do. Don't beat yourself up. You're beautiful. Actually, you're whole and perfect, strong and beautiful, loving, harmonious, and happy. Blessings to you, my friend. Namaste.